Thank you for listening to Discovering the Scriptures with Dr. Peter John. Currently, we're looking at Daniel chapter 7, and we're going through the prophecies. And I want to give some thought before I actually go into the next episode where we talk about Daniel 25, 7:25. Here's my thought. In the Old Testament, when I was studying the Old Testament seminary, we had two views that were in the Old Testament. We had the Book of Kings that were written from man's view. We had the Book of Chronicles that was written in God's view. Or in other words, Kings gives us the history, the religious history, and the Chronicles gives us a commentary of this religious history. But yet both are there. So I'm wondering, since we have the physical and the spiritual, I'm wondering, since I've been studying the last prophecies of Daniel and Revelation at the same time, if we are not looking at the Kings and the Chronicles, in other words, Daniel, the Kings, Revelation, the Chronicles, are we looking at what takes place in the religious realm in Daniel, and later what takes place in the physical realm as a final stage, where Daniel is the practice stage and Revelations is the final stage, where man learns from the mistakes of the religious leaders? I'm wondering, because when I read in Daniel 7, I almost think, almost with certainty, that I'm reading about the Pope's history and the persecution of the church and the conquering of nations. It was set up to be a kingdom. It was not set up to be what it is today. And it is fastly wearing out because it holds so many things that are not correct, like the forbidding to marry of priests took place in the 1400s. And look at what that's cost us. Multiple boys have been molested by priests, and popes, cardinals have covered it up. Where is the justice in that? What would God do, or what would Jesus do in that situation? He overturned the tables in the temple from people who were basically stealing from the people coming to worship God with their sacrifices. And he overturned those tables. What would he do with one of God's little boys, God's creation, innocent young boys who are sexually molested? What would he do if he saw it? What would Jesus do if he saw it? And yet, the man or men who claim to be the people that hear from God directly, the direct descendants of Peter in the throne, which is all garbage, by the way. I looked into it. That's just such garbage. But anyways, what would he do? What would Jesus do? So I'm reading this stuff here, and I'm thinking about how Satan wages a war against the saints, and he does it on the side. He does it so we don't even notice it. Like a television has lowered our standards, as we saw earlier in this chapter of Daniel 7. And yet, when we go into Revelation, that's very similar to this. It makes me wonder if we're looking at two different time periods, two different realms, the Kings and the Chronicles, the religious world and the secular world learning from the religious world, cults copying what took place and perfecting it. Makes me wonder. Food for thought. Now remember, when you're looking at the Bible, you need to look at what the church fathers have wrote. You need to look at the commentaries. You need to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to teach you this wisdom. You need to compare the scriptures. Like, if you look at one author, like Daniel, you need to see where did he write these words any place else in his book in Aramaic or Hebrew, because you did write two languages. And what do they mean there? You can't take out of context, because I was reading about this from this passage I'm about to get into, and people were taking other words in other languages and trying to fit them into this. And I was looking at them like, you can't do that. That's not proper Bible study. So I'm wondering, I'm laying this out before you. Do we have Kings and Chronicles going on? Do we have Daniel as Kings and Revelations as Chronicles? It would make sense if you had a world leader like the popes and they got it wrong and they diminished back to nothing, and you had a copy take place later like a cult, but a leader who did everything that the popes did, basically, real fast and condensed, all the right stuff, and avoided all the stuff that didn't help them, and take over as the one who commits the abominable in the Holy of Holies, in the temple, the Antichrist. I wonder. I want to present that because I think we should look at that and keep that in mind as we go through the end prophecies. I'm going to be speaking about some signs that still have yet to come to take place that I'm sure most of you have never heard in this next episode. God bless. If you like this, please hit the like button. And also, if you need to subscribe, hit the bell button down below if you want to hear more about this, the end times in the last days. God bless.